All right. Good morning, Kid of Prosperity. It is Friday, which means it's our MREI day
Oh,
with
yay.
Kurt, Megan, and Mary Beth. And hopefully Dana will come on in a little bit to join us. So I guess to get started, last week we can recap by just saying that we talked about in the MREI, the dynamic trio of investing, which is criteria, terms, and network. And that was all within the stage of the buy a million stage. So Mary Beth, I know you're going to want to dive into some stuff as well. You were going to pull up some screen share. I guess the one thing I wanted to identify first is that in the buy a million stage, there's essentially five models. You have the net worth model, the financial model, the network model, the lead gen model, and the acquisition model.
Okay.
So I was thinking today, like, the thing I wanted to kind of touch on, in addition with you, was really the net worth model, which is really showing how do you budget for investments?
Mm.
Because I think as I was reading the book, one of the things that came up is that the casual consumer is a little frivolous with their discretionary spending, and whether that's they're not budgeting for investments, whereas the millionaire real estate investor is treating investments as a required part of their budget. So
Right.
there was a nice little graph that showed that. So I just wanted to kind of open the floor up, because you guys, are much more in this world than I am right now, and it's making me really want to dive in even more. But I want to turn it over to you guys to kind of dive in on that topic, because I think that was kind of something that really interested me to maybe have you guys touch on how you guys budget for investments.
So I'm going to ask Meg and Kurt to go on that. And there are different models of how you're keeping a personal budget. But one thing that my husband and we just started taking the financial peace, Dave Ramsey methodology. And while I understand we're also in a pandemic and cash is king, his method of pay off all the credit cards is ultimately you want to be out of debt. And yet right now I did find a credit card that has a zero balance transfer for 21 months. And I may just put all of the debt to that so that I keep that cash in hand right now, knowing that I could pay that off the way I had anticipated before the 21 months is up. But my point with the financial piece is that zero budget model. Yeah. And I think that's kind of where Meg and Kurt are, like knowing where every dollar is allocated and knowing what you have to live on, and then looking at the rest of the money and saying, well, are we going on vacation or are we putting it away for wealth building? So go ahead, Kurt, Meg, what do you got to say about that?
It shouldn't be, just to your last sentence, it shouldn't be or. I think that's a really easy pitfall. I'm not going to talk on budget. Meg will, because she runs it. I know where all of the money goes, and it goes to her, and she decides where it actually goes.
Yes.
But I know for somebody like me who I really like to spend money. I could spend my last dollar on something stupid. Like, I'm just not good with it. But something that Meg has instituted with those models is that it's not do we budget for this or do we go on vacation? It's like, what do we need to do to be able to do all those things? So
do both. Yeah.
Take it away, honey.
So talk to us, Meg. I think I'm gonna have another phone call with you. Forget about investments. Let's talk about budget.
So my parents basically brought me up on the Dave Ramsey envelope system. So I've been doing that since I was, like 10. It was always like, oh, put your money away for this, and then you're gonna save. So I grew up that way. And then we started.
And there is a course out there for kids right now. If you are watching and you're like, well, what? There's a course that you could literally put your kids in that teaches them about money. It gets their language going and models and systems. So go ahead.
Yeah. My dad's an engineer, so he loves budgets. So my first budget was in Excel, a spreadsheet. And, I moved to New York City and I knew this is what I had to live on. And so I always had multiple bank accounts. And Bill Boswell talks about this all the time. For me, it was the envelopes. I just transferred those into bank accounts. So we are currently sitting on about 13 accounts, which sounds crazy, but you have to consider each of our investment properties also has an account. So, and then we've got extra accounts for our security deposits and things like that. So those, we're not going to talk about those specifically, but for our personal budget, like when our commission check comes in, it gets allocated out. And one of the first thing that goes out is profit. So our profit goes out first, and then our business, what we put back into our business, goes out second. And tax
Slow
money.
down.
Yeah.
Your profit goes out first. What you put in
Sounds
your
like a
business.
book.
Yeah.
But
Is
sounds
it
like
a book?
Is it a
Mike
book?
McCallowitz? He lives in Boone, by the way.
You send him a video?
Yeah. So that, honestly, profit first, we've been doing that forever. But I then take our profit account. Our profit account kind of gets split in a bunch of different ways. If I see that there's an excess in, like, we have our fund money accounts. There's an excess in fund money where, like, we just get a ridiculous commission check that, like, we're putting $500 into fund money account. Sorry, you're not getting that. Like, we don't get that. So
That's
I actually
crap.
take some of it out and I will
A
put it.
rule's a rule, Megan.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not though.
I have
So
expensive toys.
it's true, but I mean, I just, within reason, I kind of make those decisions, and it goes into the profit account. Profit account then, we're not talking about taxes. Taxes are not out of here. Your vacation fund is not out of here. It's not. I have a separate fund for vacation, a separate one for living expenses, debt services, because we've got car payments. So all those are separate accounts, but the profit account is the one that we reinvest. So, which you can kind of do whatever makes sense for you. For us, that makes sense. So I take a certain portion of that check, profit, then the profit, I see what we have at the end of the year, and then that gets reinvested, or throughout the year that gets reinvested. That is for new acquisitions. That is not for current acquisitions. So that's not if one of our tenant moves out and we need to renovate the apartment. That is not where that money comes from. That money comes from that account for that property, if that makes sense.
Yes, got it. So walk us through, let's just say you have a $10,000 check that comes in for the month. What does that typically look like in the Wubenhorst budget?
Yeah, so 2,000 of that goes back into our business, into our real estate business. 2,000 of that goes to taxes. Anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 goes into profit. That, like I said, that's where that discretionary part becomes, because is at the time I look to see what's in the fund money accounts, and currently I have 250 going into my account and his fund money account. I think it's a little excessive, so I'll probably take 150 of each of that and also.
Yeah. Well, we should probably have one more account now, huh?
For
Rainbow.
Baby
Yeah,
doesn't have an account yet, but
that's your fun account now. Your fun account just moved to baby account.
She's got to make her own money. She's gonna be a businesswoman.
Yeah, we've actually been trying to figure that out. Like, are we gonna take a profit out of our investment properties for that? Like, is that gonna end up being, so we're kind of working through that still, but we take $500 of that 10,000 goes to tithing, 1,000 goes to our debt services, 2,500 will go to living expenses, 500 for vacation, and then 250 in each of the fund money accounts. And so that's your 10,000. So
I'm gonna go over that for a second, because I want to get that. You have a $10,000 check coming in, so basically 20% you are putting to business, and that's that business operating expenses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, then another 2,000 you're putting away for taxes.
Yeah,
because you're assuming that with your write-offs you're gonna be able to bring that number down. That 10 is gonna come down, and 2 is gonna be enough for that with the write-offs.
Yep.
Correct.
And then profit account is anywhere between 10 and 15%, depending. Again.
Sure.
Yeah, and then we do 10% for our debt services. Just like I said, we have car payments. We bought a ridiculous green car last year, so I'm paying that down.
Debt services, not mortgages, though.
No, not mortgages. Just like, if we run up a
toys.
bill. Yeah.
Toys.
Yeah. Those sort of things. 25% living expenses, and then
living expenses. Would that be your mortgage, or I know you don't rent, but it would be mortgage or?
Our mortgage is actually paid out of our property, so we don't consider our mortgage part of our living expenses.
Okay.
Just because that's how we run it. Properties cover everything, which is great.
Yeah.
Okay, so living expenses would be your cable bill, your insurance, your
utilities. Whatever. It's utilities and like our car insurance, and then our actual spending money for groceries and Starbucks.
Groceries, okay, groceries and food.
Yeah.
500 goes to vacation, which is 5%, and the other 2.5 and 2.5, which is 250, would go to your fund money. Yeah, that's way too much to be putting in your fund money.
It depends, though.
You know how much wheels cost for a car?
I know.
But it depends. If we
not
have
cheap.
if we have a month where we bring in 60 grand in commission, then if that extra $10,000 check comes in, then you don't need the 250. There's plenty of money in that account. So that's where I use that discretionary.
And do you have a conversation with yourself weekly, or is this
we have a business financial meeting every week, and we go over our P&L for our business, and then we go through our budget, because that $2,500 living expenses added at $10,000, that budget is ridiculous. And it's, I do that in Excel right now because I'm just not super happy with any of the programs for commission-based people. I mean, I don't know how you guys do it. It's just very difficult for, I was using YNAB for a long time, but it just wasn't, I couldn't plan the way I needed to. So I just went back to Excel.
I like Excel and formulas. You can make it do whatever you want.
It's simple and it works. So that's what we do. But we do a once a week meeting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dana, we're talking about budgets right now, so that because Matt's question about budgeting for investment. And so I opened it up with Megan is the budget guru in their household. And she was just sharing with us what a $10,000 check looks like, and then where she's pulling that money for the reinvestment of new acquisitions. And that's out of her profit, which she.
Yeah, we should also talk about, at some point, the budget for each of the properties too, because there's also a profit account for each of the properties.
All right.
So this is just like real estate commission. Like if you get your paycheck, this is what we do with our paycheck.
Yeah. Well, let's stay on this topic because we only have the half hour.
Yeah.
And then we'll do that next week. Because right now the question is, so many people really want to get in the game, and
that's the easiest way. Just a little bit out, save it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dana.
We took from Jeff Woods on the One Thing podcast, based on the One Thing book by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, and so Margarita Mondays with me and husband unit. It gets fun, right? In terms of looking at the budget and the finances. Margarita Mondays. So 4 o'clock.
Because there's margaritas, or it gets fun because over time it actually gets fun.
Wait, Dana, what's your address? Can we join?
We can be there.
Come on over. Poor Megan, you can't partake, but
I make a vegan mocktail. Just saying.
That's true. Mocktails are a thing.
They are a thing. They're great. Sorry.
But I definitely think you have to make the budgeting fun, because naturally budgeting is not like a rock star fun thing. And when you make it fun, it becomes more digestible and it's so needed. Mary Beth, did you go into anything from the wealth building call with Mark King today? And those 3 questions he had?
Not. Ooh. Delicious.
So what's his role?
He is the director of growth for Keller Williams International.
Right. So he knows exactly what he's doing. And he's a serial real estate investor too. And he had these 3 questions that I feel like are so clarifying in terms of just building the wealth, and you can re-loop it to investing too. So one of the 3 questions was, what am I not investing in that would dramatically change the outcome of my wealth building strategy? And exactly to Megan and Kurt's point is, if you just have it automated and you take a portion of your income and have it go to another account where you don't have debit access to, right? And just watch it compound and grow over time. I don't think a lot of people just set that up and just do that for themselves, right?
Dana, can you say that soundbite again?
Yeah, that was like gold.
And it's from Mark King, right? It's called Rip Off and Duplicate. He said, what am I not investing in that would dramatically change the outcome of my wealth building strategy?
Sick. So my super high appetite for risk brain asks the question, what amount of safety do you give up to invest in the right deal? So Meg has, and this is an example of something we've done, and I don't recommend this for everybody, and I'm certainly the most dangerous type. But there have been instances where we said, this is a good deal. We've got X in our tax account for the year. We can't let this go.
We've emptied it.
We have to dump this to buy this property.
Yep.
And it's like, whatever. If I have to work out a payment plan with the IRS for that year, or we have to extra buckle down to catch up, or we got to churn extra money out of that. So
Or
I
go
would
for
love
an extension.
yeah, whatever that looks like. And I'm not saying that that's a yearly rule. It's certainly not a way to live by, but is that something that you guys in your investments, am I alone in making dumb decisions? Or
No, I feel I have a pace like Kurt sometimes in that I will take that risk. I have seen where I've made decisions that weren't exactly the best, but then I've also had some happy accidents with the last 2 properties that I bought with the equity that we've been able to create. And that happy accident is actually, and when I bought the one that I'm in now, I was not ready to buy this one. It was just an opportunity that I had to move on. It was a short sale on the water, and it was in the wrong MLS.
Yep.
Classic.
Okay. This girl was marketing it to Hudson County, and it was in Middlesex. And the way I got it was from a flyer on my door. And I was like, this girl can't be serious. And I called, and I had to come over here and negotiate with the seller to tell her, you're not making anything anyway. Who cares about the 260? I want it for 240. And she signed it. And so like I had to move on that, but now looking back, I realized that that's where I got a little tight, because I had a 4,500 square foot house that's 100 years old that I am renovating and turning into a project, a faith-based women's home, while now I just go and buy this other one right out the gate that also needs to be rehabbed. In hindsight, I probably could have waited, but now like, oh my gosh, if I did that, if I said, nah, I don't want to do that, it's too risky. If I look at it on paper, that's like, I'm not going to be able to do it. I would be kicking myself, and I would not be enjoying my life as much as I do like on the water. Like, But even this morning, I'm looking at $700,000 buildings, going like, let's go, Route 9, come on. 35, what was it?
I think, in my opinion, I could be wrong. I feel like there's a pre-COVID answer for that, and then a post-COVID answer. Allow me to explain, right? Pre-COVID, yeah, you could do something like that and use the IRS tax funds for something smart like that, and that your pendings are gonna close and cover it, right? Mm-hmm. I would just pump the brakes a little more carefully now going post-COVID, because, and this is from Ben Kinney, he said a lot of agents operate on their pendings for financial decisions versus their closed business, right? So it just elevates the conversation and makes you think about that. I'm gonna say the third question, we're going out of order. The second question we just went over from marketing this morning. The third one, and to Kurt's idea, was, what am I doing well with money that I need to do more of? Now, pre-COVID, I'll say that was a great move. You just put the money back, no big deal. I would just get a little more cautious, not do it, right? Like don't swim in the inaction. But I just think, say it again.
Think harder.
Yeah, I would like aim versus fire.
My strategy. What could go wrong?
Don't ask that, Mary Beth. Not in 20. Hold my Corona. Then what could go wrong?
I mean, we actually did that. We basically emptied everything to buy this house a week and a half into coronavirus. And we have been operating on our pendings, which for us has paid off because I always give myself,
let's just say too.
But I give myself at least a 10 to 20, usually a 10, 15% fallout on normal transactions. I've just upped that to 25%, just in case.
Good for you.
So because that's happening,
we also still have a buffer, and the rental income is covering
covering
like the nut anyway. So.
I mean, if you have no income coming in, I don't think I would recommend doing that. Eat pre or post COVID. I just wouldn't recommend that. But we knew we make enough off the properties to function, so you just have to kind of aim, like you said, aim a little bit differently and make sure you at least have income. But that's where that diversification piece comes in, because if you have multiple streams of income, you're not solely relying on your real estate business or your paycheck that you're getting from whatever you're in. You need to diversify a little bit so that something like COVID does not completely derail your entire income. I think that's what we've been trying to stress to a lot of our clients too, who were like, whoa, not buying multifamilies. We're like, wait, but you have one source of income. And what if this happens again? And they're like, oh, let's buy it. And so you have to kind of talk that through with people too when you're talking about wealth building.
Yeah, well, I
there's
mean,
wealth building and there's income earning. There's
Yeah.
so many people, and that was a point that Mark was making this morning, is that so many people are income earning, and quite frankly, anything over 36,000, and that on average in America, let's just say 50,000 in New Jersey, maybe a little bit more, but realistically, if we said anything over 50,000, we can kind of figure out how to live on 50,000 if we needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Anything over that, it's what are we doing with that money? So we have plenty of people in our lives that are earning 100,000, earning 125, maybe 150, 200, and they're not wealthy because it's what they've decided to do with that 50 to the 125 every single year. Compound that. To your point is every single month, every single check, putting a little way here, a little way there, and then you wake up 5 years later and you have the money to go and do what you wanted to. So there's been really great income earners, and yet what are you doing to create wealth? And to your point, diversifying, investing in properties is buying and holding is definitely one way this group is talking about. And then we want to also discuss other opportunities as well. And with this group here, we're talking about commissions is one bucket, profit share, which is our passive opportunity with our company, Keller Williams. So that is 2. The third thing would be ownership of an office, ownership of maybe a title company. It could be investment division. It could be rentals. It could be what do you got?
Mm-hmm.
Property management company, general contracting company, because you realize, oh my gosh, I got all the people in my world now, I should probably just be the company. So all these things, because I get that challenge, people go, but I'm a real estate agent. What other buckets can I have?
So many.
You could have all of them. And then you could also do other things too. When you have that money, maybe you do go and invest in somebody's big dream of a restaurant that makes sense. And you're like, clearly this is going to kill it. I'll give them 50,000 and they'll
Mary Beth, I think that hits on one of the misunderstandings that they were talking about earlier in the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book, which is just a lot of people genuinely believe that having a job will be enough to build financial wealth. And what we're talking about today is you need to diversify that and be able to position yourself. As they talk in the book, between ages 30 and 50 is when most people in a job are going to earn the most money. Then it kind of tails off after that. So if you're starting to fill these buckets, as you're talking about, you'll position yourself to be financially successful later in life.
Yeah. And what we're also talking about is this, right? Yep. Is, look at this box right here. 2 of us would be living on the side where we have a job, an employee or a self-employed, which is a job. And 2 of us would be sitting on the side where, who's a business owner and who's an investor. Out of those 4, who's truly building that? Your ultimate goal is to be in that investor aspect, but you probably have to work through the whole quadrant to get there. And bringing it back to, and I just want to talk a bit about, and maybe we could show that, maybe not, you're budgeting and you're looking at that profit that you said, that's where you're pulling your new investment. When do you make a decision to go ahead and pull the trigger and you're ready to, that is funded to go ahead and buy another property? I mean, in this case, I guess the property came before it was funded and you figured it out, right? But what's going to be your rule moving forward?
Rule? I mean, it's got to, short of outlining the criteria of what makes a deal good, it's got to be a good deal. It has to be something that
I think the deal comes first, usually. The deal comes first, and then we look at what we have, and then we decide, do we need other investors? What else do we need, if that makes sense? I mean, because we don't generally have all of it. Like, we don't, because we do invest with another couple, a partner. So it's really between the 2 of us. What do we have? And I think the deal usually comes first, but because we're always looking.
Think about, Mary Beth, when you're describing that I box, right? The investor box. What do investors do? Investors don't, and I'm gonna kindly put you on blast a little bit, but you're like, I gotta do something right now. And it's like, if you're in that mindset, you don't actually get a good deal, because you have this you have this time frame of like, I gotta, and we all know from selling real estate, those clients that we've had where we're like, I gotta buy a 2-family right now. It's like, well, sorry, bro. There's like 3 in town, and none of them are good deals. You're up a creek.
Or they rush into one and then they're halfway through the deal and they're like, oh God, this is not what I wanted.
Exactly. But when you're truly in the iBox, which fortunately we're in a position where we're at right now. I mean, we still want to aggressively build our portfolio, but we have patience, we have time, whatever. We just wait for the deal. When the deal comes up, you know it, and you jump. And
well, let's talk a little bit about you. And we're all believers here. So like, you can't just sit back and wait and pray. You also have to do some actions to be actively looking. One of the things that Megan said to me in a consult that I had with her, she was consulting me, is that to block that time weekly, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it could be, even if it's an hour. I've been using an hour lately, but today we're going to do 2 or 3 hours, to just look at properties, to just get yourself familiar with prices. And so that when that one does come on, you'll know it's a great deal because you've been watching, driving by, checking stuff out. So
you gotta be passionate about it. Any market that you want to do great in, you need to understand it. So Mary Beth, if you told me that you wanted to buy a BMW M3, I could tell you exactly what you should pay for any of them at any time. I could tell you exactly what they're worth because I'm not in the market right now, but I always pay attention to every single thing that comes up for sale. There's not really that many of them. If you're looking at multifamilies, if you're in Dana's camp and you're looking for a lot of doors under one roof, there's only so many of those. So Dana knows what they all cost. Dana knows when they come on the market. For Meg and I, we've got our corridor. We're looking for 2, 3, 4s in that corridor. We know exactly what they cost. We know what we should pay for them. We know what other people, we know what other people are stupidly paying for them, and we know a good deal when we see it. It's got to be exciting. The reason I don't invest in the stock market is I have zero interest in it. I'd never be good at it. I have to pay attention every day. If you're not opening up your phone and looking at stock prices every day, you're never going to do it. But if you want to do great at that, you got to know it, and you got to love it, and you got to know what those things go for.
Yes, and I want to just show my screen. We're not going to dive into it, but I want to show my screen. It's 11:30. We're going to end. But I want to, hold on a second.
Oh, no screen.
Hey, Mary Beth, while you're doing that, I'll give the last question from this morning. Fast.
Yeah.
What am I spending money on that if I stopped, nobody would notice?
Yeah.
I mean,
almost everything I spend money on.
That was for you.
Megan, that was for you. I love it. But really, what are we spending? I'll tell you, like you probably Starbucks. Like I haven't been to Starbucks in months.
It's not coming back.
I broke down and went the other day because I just wanted it. I had to wait in line for like 30 minutes, but you know what? I'm just treating myself. So.
Hey, give Mama
our budget for
the Starbucks.
We've been reallocating that money, which has been amazing. So, love it.
All right, so here is just an example worksheet. This was found in the MREI. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I had called Kurt last night to just say what does he use, and I'm going to tweak this and put some percentages and formulas in the Excel sheet. But I'm just going to run down this for a second. The thing is, here's the after repair value, the ARV. Was estimated at 165. And so that right there, what Kurt's talking about is knowing your market. Like, how would you know that that's the estimated after repair value? Well, you would be studying your market. So it may be that you're studying a market for a year or so until you're really confident to pull a trigger, especially if you're not in the real estate business and you're trying to get into investing. But it could also happen as quickly as next week if you know the market. So I took 10% off as a fast sell factor, bringing down a 148 as a realistic fast after repair value. With the way this model broke down, it looked like I'd only make about $11,000 on this deal. And that would be at purchasing it at $100,000. Exactly. Thumbs down to this deal. So I went with Megan's suggested 40% of what was put in, if I expected that, then I would be expecting at least 23,000. And then even with that, Kurt and I were talking it through last night. Does that make sense to kill 2 or 3 months of a rehab and then potentially walk out of it with 23,000, especially if there's partners involved? It's probably not worth our time. It's probably, and then again, it's, well, if I got it for 60,000, you know, it would have to be 90,000 to even make sense. But if you told me, hey, you could get it for 80,000, I'd probably jump on it, because now I'm looking at potentially $30,000 or $40,000, and it's a small little condo. But just to give you a little bit of something to go and do this week is to get on the MREI, the Keller Inc., KellerINK.com, and go into the MREI resources. So 1, 2, 3, 4 on the sides over here. Cost of purchase, cost of repair, carrying costs, and cost of sale. And this worksheet does a nice job of breaking down what is cost of purchase. Well, finder's fee, inspection, closing costs. It makes you start to think about everything that you would encounter, or maybe not. And then cost of repair. And Kurt's question specifically, are you talking about just cabinets, or are you talking about flooring, hardware, fans, appliances, you know, light fixtures, light switch fixtures, everything, right? So when you start getting into all of that, are we really at 20,000? Is it a little more? And then what about the contractors that are doing it? Are you the contractor? Are you subcontracting? And then carrying costs is going to be, you got taxes, homeowner association, the mortgage that you're going to pay for a month or 2 months. And then on 4, it's agent commissions, you know, and looking at that, it's like, well, am I going to pay you have to prepare that you're going to pay the agent 5 to 6% to list and sell the property. Now, of course, if you're an agent and you're on one end of that, you can work back into it. But at the same time, you don't want to make a decision based on you not paying commission out. And title insurance and buyer's costs. So when you add all of that up, it fits into this chart, and it tells me how much I would have to put in, which is $37,000 out of pocket plus a $20,000 deposit, which is $57,000, and $57,000 out of pocket. That's where I got the $23,000. So this deal does not work.
At all.
No.
At all.
Well, it does work if you purchase it way lower.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the answer. And I'm even to my brother-in-law, it's, well, this could be a great deal. It just has to be purchased at the right price. And we did the exercise to figure out where it would need to be, and it just didn't make sense. So
yeah.
Anyway, all right. It is 11:35, and we are gonna end up closing this down. Matt, you want to close it up?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we can dive more into that next week. But really today we covered, you know, budgeting, the net worth model, and all of that. So look forward to seeing you guys next week, and have a great weekend. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye, Claire.